as ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello everyone, this is CoreTV Primetime News with Nifemi Okuntoye. In our major story, Enugu quarantines 21 people as one of the nurses who treated late Liberian Ebola victim Patrick Sawyer sneaks into the state. Also in this program, delegates from southern Nigeria insist there is nothing in the final report to suggest that the National Conference was being teleguided to support tenure elongation. Politics tear family apart as traditional ruler shoots son and 6 others in Rivers State. And outside Nigeria, Palestinians fleeing from war in Syria return home to face another war. The Ebola virus disease has spread from Lagos to Enugu with 21 people placed under quarantine. Information Minister Labaran Marco disclosed this after the Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja. He noted the people who had contact with one of the nurses who contracted the virus from the Liberian-American Patrick Sawyer.
Health has taken on this matter was to immediately quarantine all those who had primary contact with the index case. And so far, as the Minister of Health reported today, all those who had primary contact have been quarantined, which is the way the global community handles this disease. And secondary contacts have also been traced. There is a strong team in Lagos, which has been set up by the Emergency Response Center, that is tracing every contact that has been made with either the index case or with primary contacts. Now, so far, the number of people that have been traced is 198. Now, out of this number, 177 are in Lagos, and they are being traced. Some are in quarantine, some are being monitored by health specialists. Their movements, being monitored, and they are under directive from the Minister of Health. So those in quarantine, and this number includes, people so far that have made contact with the index case or secondary contacts. So 198 of them, 177 in Lagos, and 21 persons in Enugu are also being watched. And this is because one of the nurses that was involved in the treatment of the index case, unfortunately, disobeyed medical instructions and somehow traveled to Enugu.
While the federal government has cautioned transporters against conveying anyone that is sick without an authentic medical report, this, according to Health Minister Oyebochuchukwu, is meant to curb the spread of the Ebola virus. He also advised transporters to stop carrying corpses unless there is a clearance from health authorities to avoid community transmission.
This is the first time the minister is meeting with the road transport unions since the outbreak of the Ebola virus. The first index case came into Nigeria through the airport, But now the government is keen on stopping the virus from spreading by road. The first line of defense is through the road transport unions.
For you to carry any sick person, ask for doctor's medical report. And that medical report certainly should not be more than 1 week old. If you look at the date of the report, it's more than 1 week. Tell your members don't accept that report. Because we want to be sure. Not when we bring you with our other passengers, you go and cause problem for them. And even for the driver. We don't want that.
The health minister also reaffirmed the ban on movement of corpses from within or outside the country without clearance from relevant authorities.
Don't carry dead corpse unless you have a waiver. 3, help us talk to your members about what you had. We also get them to give you information, things, leaflets, and so on. We're also talking on radio everywhere, but we can give you more if what they give you today is not enough.
For now, the Ebola virus has no cure, but with this infrared-enabled thermometer, an Ebola victim could be identified. The unions assured government of support, but wants the health authorities to make Ebola detecting equipment available at bus parks. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Abuja.
National Conference delegates from southern Nigeria insist that there is no cause for alarm over the so-called draft constitution. They also maintained that there is nothing in the final report to suggest that the conference was being teleguided to support tenure elongation. But their counterparts from northern Nigeria are convinced that fifth columnist hard work in President Jonathan's interest.
Yesterday, it was very unfortunate to learn yesterday that some delegates addressed press conference on a so-called new constitution. When we were discussing during the sections, we passed several resolutions, as I mentioned. Some of them touched constitutional changes. Some of them were policy matters, others were legislature. What they have done was to put together all the amendments to the 1999 Constitution. An additional one, there were not many. Where there should be a subtraction, they subtracted. And the documents, a new document had now been produced. And there is nothing wrong if somebody calls it a proposed draft constitution. We have nothing to hide. But that will bring a new change to Nigeria.
There were allegations that we were working for some political leaders. That is false and insulting. Since I got to this conference, nobody, and I mean nobody, had tried to influence me or my delegation on any matter whatsoever. And I'm sure that's the truth for all of us. There were specific allegations that we had recommended a single tenure of 6 years for the president. That is not true. Look at the document. We say 2 terms for 4 years each, as in the present constitution.
Meanwhile, the National Conference has again deferred consideration of its final report. The document would now be deliberated upon on Thursday. Conference Chairman Idris Kutige took the decision as soon as delegates resumed on Wednesday from a 3-day break. Although no reason was given, many delegates believe that the controversy over alleged hidden agenda forced the postponement.
It is very clear that a major crisis was in the offing. Given the report by newspapers this morning and most media organizations in the country about the position of certain groups, notably the Northern Delegates Forum, on the constitution, the new draft constitution that was distributed to delegates as part of the package for discussion. And like you said, the leadership shut down the meeting today abruptly in order to preempt and forestall the kind of rancors and probably chaotic situation that the whole conference would have been plunged into.
At least 8 persons were shot and injured when supporters of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and the All Progressives Congress (APC) clashed in Rumo Precom community, Obiakpo local government area of Rivers State, the hometown of the Minister of State for Education, Nyesom Wike. Traders were forced to close shops as the deafening sound of gunshots scared many away. It was gathered that trouble started when the deposed paramount ruler of Obiakpo, Urebisi, Anthony Uwabie, shot at a group of men at Wimpy Junction. The bullet, according to an eyewitness, hit his son, Clement Uwabie, a strong member of the PDP. The son explained to journalists in the hospital where he and other injured persons were receiving treatment that his father shot him because he refused to join the APC. At the same time, some youth reportedly converged on Rumemprecum in anticipation of the visit of the state governor, Rotimi Amechi, who had been on local government tour. Eyewitnesses say the youths were beating drums when they heard the sound of gunshots. Angered by the development, they made moves to storm Uwabie's residence, but were stopped by the police. The State Commissioner of Police, Tony Ogunsaki, who confirmed the incident, says Uwabie shot his son and 6 people. Ogunsaki also reveals that Uwabie has been arrested by the police, while the gun used in shooting his victims had been recovered. He added that the matter had been transferred to the State Anti-Robbery Squad for further investigation. Few days after the Northern Elders Forum lashed out at President Goodluck Jonathan over the lingering insecurity, another group in the region has hailed his initiatives. The Northern Elders Council says the president deserves commendation for the role he is playing to end terrorism in the region. Spokesman for the group, Yusuf Maman, says in a press statement that the Elders Council also appreciates the timeline agreed by the Council of States for ending insurgency before the end of the year. Nigeria's former ambassador to Spain also listed the establishment of the Presidential Initiative for the Development of the Northeast Region and Victim Support Fund as steps aimed at catering for victims and responding to challenges posed by insurgency. The police have set up tactical operation points in selected states of the Northeast and Northwest to check illegal movement of small arms, light weapons, and explosives. The facilities are to be located on highways in Kano, Jigawa, Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara, Bauchi, Gombe, and Taraba states. Police spokesman Frank Umba says in a statement that the operation points would be manned by policemen who have received adequate training in tactical operation and counter-terrorism. He added that Inspector General of Police Sulaiman Abba has directed all Assistant Inspector Generals of Police in charge of the zones covering the affected states and all commissioners of police to supervise the special operation. In Kaduna, the police have paraded 65 suspects, including a syndicate that specializes in printing the Nigerian currency. Police Commissioner Shehu Usman said his men also recovered 21 vehicles, 37 arms, and 360 ammunition. Other items put on display include a truckload of Indian hemp said to be from Ondo State. The police commissioner said the illicit drug was conveyed by a suspect dressed in police uniform with the rank of Assistant Superintendent of Police. The Executive Secretary of Lagos State Security Trust Fund, Fola Athawari, was said that the proper funding for all security outfits in the country will achieve the much-desired safety of lives and property. He stressed that the success recorded by Lagos State in the area of security is largely due to the heavy investment of the state government in security outfits operating in the state.
All of these agencies are challenged in terms of the resources and tools needed to address growing security threats. And you know, they are worldwide. It's just Nigeria, the question is whether Nigeria is prepared, is really understands the nature of the threat and is prepared and is ready to make the sacrifice to fund them. In Lagos, of course, you know, the government set up the Lagos State Security Trust Fund, whereby both government and private corporations, individuals, associations donate to the fund. We collect all the assets and then we distribute and manage them.
Acting Inspector General of Police Sulaiman Abba has assured Nigerians that the response time for distress call to the police will be a maximum of 5 minutes. He gave the assurance when he received Anambra State Governor Willie Obiano in his office. And as part, Governor Obiano reaffirmed his government's support to the police authority through the provision of 64 vehicles.
Policing is about prevention generally, preventing crimes. But the second important thing, the response. Okay. If you have a good response time, then these two things you have. If you have them, try to prevent where it is unpreventable and the crime takes place, you should be able to respond on time. Our desire is to have at least in every police command a response time of maximum 5 minutes. Maximum 5 minutes. And we'll do everything possible, and I'm happy the governments, both at the federal, state, and local governments level, they are making commitments in this regard. Some have clearly come out to go beyond commitment, like we have seen in the case of Anambra State, all for nothing other than to ensure that the lives and the property of the people are well protected.
Why we've had a lot of success in Anambra State is because of superior intelligence that SSS are providing and the readiness of the Anambra Police Force to be at the point of action, within a short time, with the aid of the equipment that we provided them.
Well, the last is yet to be heard of last Saturday's governorship election in Osun State. Find out the latest reaction and deployment of soldiers for the poll. That's after this break. Stay with us.
Nivea Nourishing Body Lotion. Its effective formula with Hydra IQ gives your skin deep and long-lasting nourishment for skin that stays moisturized all day long. Look great, feel great with deeply nourished skin. Nourishing Body Lotion from Nivea.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. You're watching CoreTV Primetime News live from Lagos. Two former allies of the leadership of the All Progressives Congress have heaped praises on President Goodluck Jonathan over the peaceful conduct of last Saturday's election in Osun State. Tunde Bakari and Yinka Odumaki are convinced that the decision to deploy soldiers was a master stroke that prevented bloodshed. They also commended the two leading political parties and insisted no single party could claim dominance in the Southwest.
This is one of the pictures that went viral before last Saturday's elections. And although APC won the election by a wide margin, its leaders have not stopped condemning President Jonathan for authorizing troops deployment. There are, however, others who believe that the president deserves commendation for sending in soldiers. Yinka Odumakin and Tunde Bakare are in this category.
I think the present party lost the governorship in Osun, but I think the president won in this election because the whole idea was they blackmailed me before this election that he deployed those soldiers to go and rig elections. Now his party did not win. This has shown that he has deployed those troops to maintain peace, law, and order, and to ensure that there was no bloodshed and that no life was lost. So I think that we must give it to the president.
There's so many sides to Osun State. Number one, whether you like the president or you don't like him, the truth is he has allowed democracy to play out. Because those who are talking of the military presence, it will appear to me now that the presence of the military or the armed forces and the police is to ensure that there was peace during the election while people were casting their votes. Now, if PDP had won that election, they would have said, oh, they used the same tactics in Ekiti.
APC may have won the election, but Odumakin believes that there is a deeper significance in the outcome. He says there's no longer a single dominant party in the Southwest.
In the last 3 years, the Southwest has had 3 governorship elections, and the victories have gone to 3 different political parties. In Ondo State it was Labour, in Ekiti was PDP, in Osun it's now APC. So multi-party democracy is taking root in the Southwest, and it means that the electorate in the Southwest can no longer be taken for granted by any political party to say that we are the lords of Southwest. The game with Southwest is open for political ideas and platforms.
The 2 former allies of APC's national leader, Muhammadu Buhari, are happy that in spite of brickbats before the election, it went without any incidents.
When someone wins, he has won. When someone loses, he must lose gallantly. And I'm glad that Osun State did not become the boiling cauldron that people were expecting. And for Mr. President also writing to congratulate Aregbesola, apart from he didn't participate in the election, shows that he's graduating into a statesman. That's my opinion.
That in an election that was a lot of brickbats, there were a lot of violence threatened, that the election went peacefully without a person being killed. The same thing in Ekiti State show clearly that he has done well, and the security force must commend it.
They, however, wondered whether Nigeria can afford such heavy troop deployment nationwide for the 2015 elections.
Only time can tell, Samuel. And back in Lagos, 16 initial occupants of the Shogoro housing estate in Ogba area, who owned houses before it was reconstructed, have been allocated flats in the estate. Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola allocated the flats at the August draw of the Lagos Homes Ownership Mortgage Scheme. Abiola Oluwole was there.
The Lagos Homes Ownership Mortgage Scheme is a scheme of the Lagos State government that seeks to address the housing deficit in the state by providing 200 homes monthly. Addressing subscribers at the 6th draw of the scheme, Governor Fashola announced the location of flats to 16 initial occupants of Shogunro Housing Estate that were sacked by flood before the reconstruction of the estate.
16 senior citizens have benefited from 16 homes, part of the Lagos homes in the Shogunro housing scheme in Ogba. 2 things are instructive from that experience, that if we make a promise to you, we intend to keep it. Our regeneration initiatives that are going across in this state will not leave anybody who is already a beneficiary behind, but that it is going to require us to cooperate. It is going to require us to sacrifice. It is going to require us to break an egg if we truly desire to have a breakfast of our omelets.
Winners of the draws expressed their joy and called for the sustenance of the scheme.
They are very fair and transparent. There is no mago-mago, it is straightforward.
It's so easy because, first of all, I am conversant with the use of web. I know how to get my information the way I want. And all I did was just to Google the information, Lagos home, and follow the procedure.
The Lagos State government revealed that construction of houses is currently going on at 23 sites across Lagos.
The federal government has been urged to overhaul the nation's educational system to meet with the realities of the 21st century. Speaking at the opening ceremony of a two-day workshop for students of tertiary institutions in Lagos, education experts say the Nigerian educational system was designed for the 1960s and 1970s and needs an urgent change. Anita Fatunji has the details.
The recent failures recorded in the education institution in Nigeria has become a major source of worry for leaders and parents in the country. That, no doubt, prompted the Lagos State government to organize a mentoring program for students of tertiary institutions in Lagos with the sole aim of turning out quality, employable graduates in the state. Speaking at the workshop, an educational consultant, Kola Oyeneyi, says the education system in Nigeria was designed for 1960s, 1970s and does not apply to the realities of the present generation.
There is no point trying to fix what is obsolete. Whatever is obsolete, you take it and you throw it away and create something new. I think that the Nigerian current educational system is obsolete. It applies to 1970s and 1980s. We are in the information age. Everything is driven by technology, by information. If we don't have the right curriculum that would develop an information-driven education, we can't make a headway.
Speaking at the same venue, principal partner Brandsmith Consulting, Akinwumi Ambody, admonish youth never to be discouraged about their dreams.
I had an encounter with somebody also that when I was younger was actually telling me that can somebody like you become an accountant? And this was maybe like age 14. That challenge or that abuse, made me to get more determined to say that I want to prove a point that I would like to be the best of accountants.
The organizers of the program, Special Assistant to Lagos State Governor on Youth and Student Affairs, Akim Animashaun, says the government is even more determined to right the wrongs of the past in the education system and have students who can stand on their own.
Vocational training is the solution to the issue of unemployment. Now, there's so much emphasis on certificate. Everybody wants to go to a university because they want to get a degree certificate for a job that is not out there. But the Lagos State government has been very, very strategic and proactive to identify vocational training as an alternative for job creation.
Well, there has always been a system whereby the state government is given a cushion effect to all that those who are indigent and residents of Lagos State through our scholarship scheme. Either you are in primary school or secondary school, if you know that you are indigent, we give certain amount of fund to fund you so that you'll be able to complete your education. If you are in a tertiary institutions, there's what we call a bursary award, a local scholarship award, even up to going to abroad to do your courses. So the funds are always there and it's very, very adequate.
Participants have this to say.
The government needs to do a lot because to me, they've not done enough at all. I think they should invest on so many entrepreneurs, and instead of focusing on the old ones, for example, the confab, they're just filled with old people. Old people they'll keep giving us old ideas. We need people with fresh ideas, like the youth at the confab, for example. If you add a lot of it there, they would have brought new ideas and maybe assisted the government in knowing our plight and knowing what we want directly. So I think the government needs to focus on the youth and just talk to us more instead of the old ones.
It enhances our business sense, like how we think about business. Like most of us think that opening or starting a business is something like a big deal, but like the way they are breaking it down, and it seems like something easy and you have to work hard towards it.
With a program like this, the education system in Nigeria can experience an unprecedented transformation. Anita Fatunji, CoreTV News, Lagos.
It's good news for small-scale business owners in Nigeria as Mr. President releases the much-talked-about 220 billion naira SMEs Development Fund. Get details of that story and more on the Business News with Ebunlomo Adekunle. That's after this break.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Nigerians continue to travel
the city of Lagos.
There is still a poor level of
Be the first to know from the north, south, east, west and around Africa. We break the news.
One Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are CoreTV News.
Welcome to CoreTV,
a 24-hour news station.
From time immemorial, women have birthed life, shaped character, and by extension, influenced the society. Moremi of Ife, Emoten of Benin, Queen Aminat of Zaria, all women of influence and power.
Whether it's before election, after election.
How ironical. Women being so powerful, yet have few grounds in decision making.
They see you as a wife, and I see you as a wife to a man.
We are talking women in politics.
A woman will be bold enough to stand up and say, I want to become president of Nigeria.
Only on CoreTV News. Now let's face business. It's Ebunlomo Adekunle. Respite is expected for Nigeria's over 17 million micro, small and medium-scale businesses as President Goodluck Jonathan finally flags off the disbursement of the long-awaited 220 billion naira micro, small and medium enterprises development fund on Monday. The fund's official flag-off will be commemorated at the Central Bank of Nigeria's 8th annual Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Finance Conference, which begins Monday in Abuja. The CBN notes in a mail that the president will also, at the two-day event, award prizes to MSMEs, deposit money banks and states government who had distinguished themselves in entrepreneurship development in 2013. MSME DF was launched last year to primarily provide for the wholesale funding requirement of microfinance banks and microfinance institutions for on-lending to the MSMEs at not more than 9% interest rate. The CBN in July signed a memorandum of understanding with states on the disbursement, which allow each of them access up to 2 billion naira for on-lending to small businesses through the microfinance banks. A transition to Basel requirements by Nigerian banks is expected to hit dividend payouts as lenders move to conserve and boost capital. The CBN hiked the cash requirement and public sector funds for lenders to 75% in a bid to stem excess liquidity and protect the naira. Global regulators are weighing tougher constraints on how banks measures the risk of losses on their investment in a bid to prevent them from downplaying the capital they need to guard against insolvency. Banks have been accessing the bank market with more of Tier 2 capital via Eurobond issuance to shore up their capital base. The total assets of Nigerian banks were about 22.64 trillion naira at the end of last year. Banks with international operations are required by the CBN to meet a minimum cash adequacy ratio of 15% and 10% for those with strictly Nigerian operators. There are indications that the Central Bank of Nigeria may have resumed the sale of foreign exchange to the recapitalized bureau de change about 2,022 of the total 3,500 were said to have been supplied with forex last week, with Lagos zone accounting for 964. Reports revealed that a total of 2,087 BDCs may have scaled the hurdle of recapitalization and mandatory cautionary deposit and have been issued new code of conduct to operate in the forex market. The implications is that about 514 BDCs may have lost their licenses due to their inability to meet the capital requirement. The new code of conduct is expected, among other things, to define the relationship between the BDCs and the banks and among the BDCs themselves. Investigations show that in order to ensure the dollar is sold to only those BDCs that met the capital requirement, the CBN had issued a new code to them while deactivating the former code. The Nigerian Electricity Regulation Commission is set to impose a corporate governance code on the electricity sector as concerns over governance practices in the sector mount. According to sources at NERC, one of the ways DISCOs mismanage cash flow is through their employee allowance policy. According to the source within the regulatory agency, the chief executive officers of these companies pay frivolous and outrageous remunerations to themselves and also influence the appointment of members of the audit committee. This regrettable anomaly is against the provisions of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA, as amended, which states that the members of the committee should be independent. In Nigeria's Code of Corporate Governance, remuneration of executive directors should be set by the Remuneration Committee, which comprises all or most of the non-executive directors. But the boards of these companies politicize the appointment of the Remuneration Committee, which signifies bad corporate governance. The federal government has perfected plans to invest about 7.4 trillion naira to develop new inland waterway infrastructure across the country. President Goodluck Jonathan, represented by Idris Umar, Minister of Transport, says the investment will focus on developing new river ports in Baro, Niger State, Oguta in Imo State, Lokoja in Kogi State, including several other jetties before the end of 2020. According to him, this move will help in positioning the inland waterway transport into becoming an alternative means of transportation for the movement of cargoes and passengers from the cities to the hinterland so as to ease the pressure on the roads. The president further disclosed that the efforts of government are geared towards creating the enabling environment for the private sector to thrive and to stimulate economic growth through the inland waterways, assuring that the river port, when completed, will be concessioned to private operators to drive efficiency. On the issue of safety, he noted that the federal government has acquired some patrol boats to provide security coverage to lives and property within the inland waterways. Equity transactions on the Nigerian Stock Exchange on Wednesday ended on a bearish note. The NSE all-share depreciated by 339.54 points to close lower at 41,753.19 basis points. Market capitalization dropped to close lower at 13,787 trillion naira. In all, a total of 246 million shares valued at 2.79 billion naira were exchanged in 4,633 deals. Report shows that CAP PLC topped the gainers chart, followed by WAPCO PLC, Livestock PLC, Etana PLC, and Pharmadeco PLC. On the other hand, Forte Oil PLC led the losers chart, followed by Mobile PLC, Skull Shelt PLC, Nigerian Breweries PLC, and Dangote Cement PLC. Meanwhile, here are the top 5 trades. Ebola is not only threatening lives in Africa, it is also threatening sporting activities. Get details of this on Sports News with Brownson Unwana. Thank you for being there.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Our style, and that's what he delivered. Usain Bolt storming through, he takes Puyol with a flying lead.
Go, taking them out in the lead and really.
A very big thanks for joining us on Sport News tonight. I am Brownson Wana. Disturbed by the recent Ebola outbreak in Nigeria, the Rwandan Football Federation has asked CAF for advice about potentially changing the venue for the 2015 African Cup of Nations qualifiers against the Super Eagles of Nigeria early next month. 3 people have died in Lagos since an infected Liberian finance ministry official arrived the country last month. More than 100 people have been quarantined, and government battles to keep the spread of the deadly virus in check. Rwanda are scheduled to visit Calabar for their opening Group A match with the Super Eagles of Nigeria on the 8th of September. Meanwhile, the Confederation of African Football (CAF) has ordered the federations of Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone to relocate their home matches to neutral venues following the spread of the Ebola virus in those countries. The national teams of these nations will be participating in the upcoming 2015 Cup of Nations qualifiers set for early September. Their opponents, notably Togo, recently complained to CAF to move the matches away from those countries due to the threat of the deadly disease which has devastated the region of Western Africa in recent weeks. CAF has now ordered fixtures of those countries to be relocated due to the threat of the highly infectious virus spreading further. Manchester United has named Wayne Rooney as their new captain. The 28-year-old England international replaced Nemanja Vidic, who has left the club for Inter Milan, while Darren Fletcher has been named as vice-captain. Rooney skipper United in their Premier League opener with Swansea at Old Trafford on 16th of August. Rooney was confirmed as captain after a 2-1 friendly win over Valencia on Tuesday night. Finally, the world of sport tonight. In tennis, Venus Williams was sent packing from Cincinnati Master by 16 seed Lucy Sharapova 6-7, 6-3, 6-4. 5th seed Maria Sharapova overcame America's Dixon Case in the evening second round contest 6-1, 3-6, 6-3 in just under 2 hours, and Caroline Wozniacki defeated Japan's Zhang Shuai 6-2, 6-1. On the men's court, James Ward had a 6-2, 3-6, 6-1 victory over Spain's Guillermo Garcia Lopez, while Frenchman Joe-Wilfried Tsonga suffered a first-round defeat, going down 6-1, 6-1 to Russia's Mikhail Yuzny. And that's a wrap on Sport News tonight. My name is Brownson Wana. Nifemi Ogunte is standing by to bring you foreign news. Stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. We'll begin our stories from outside Nigeria in Syria, where Palestinians living there fled the war raging and returned home looking for safety, only to get caught in the middle of another conflict. Here's the report.
Ahmad Abu Shabab has seen war in more than one country he has called home. As a Palestinian living in Syria, he fled the war region there now in his third year and returned to Gaza looking for safety in the land of his family. But today, he's visiting the grave of his son who was killed by an Israeli airstrike while trying to evacuate wounded people.
We fled the war, only for war to come to us again. Life is hard and tough at home. We have nothing, no house, no shelter or education.
In 1967, after the Six-Day War in Israel, some 500,000 Palestinians left their lands, many finding homes in Syria. But with the conflict between the regime of Bashar al-Assad, the Free Syrian Army and increasingly powerful jihadist groups entering a fourth year, over 70% of them have had to leave their homes once more. Among them are the Al-Mawi family, like Ahmed, they too fled to Gaza.
We fled because there was no security in Syria. The situation is not clear. In Syria, we lost our livelihood. There was no way to work, and with the war, we lost our desire to stay. But in Gaza, the situation is different. Yes, there is a war, but it is different.
When Hamad Abu Shabab left Syria in 2012, Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, then in power, held Palestinians to return home by facilitating passage through the Rafah border crossing into Gaza from Egypt. Once in the Gaza Strip, Hamas promised to pay 170 euros every month to the heads of returning families until they found employment. But after 5 months, with Hamas isolated by the political changes in Cairo and economically strangled, the payments stopped.
Our house was destroyed. We came here to find comfort and a home, but we found the opposite. And nobody cares about us. Nobody gave us a home. We're now living in the debris, in the street.
Hamad's situation is far from unusual. This relief offensive in Gaza has left more than 2,000 dead in a little over 1 month. And though negotiations for a durable truce are underway in Cairo, for many Palestinians, a sad story of exile and war continues to be written.
Britain made a second airdrop of 8 refugees in northern Iraq. Also, tornado fighter jets had left Britain to provide civilian support for the humanitarian effort. The Royal Air Force was forced to abandon a drop on Monday because of fears of injuring people on the ground. But the repeat attempt overnight was successful. The Department for International Development said 2 airdrops have now been made, delivering 4,380 water containers and 1,056 solar lamps that can be used to charge mobile phones. Britain is also sending tornado jets to gather information to help deliver aid to civilians fleeing from militants. And that's been the show tonight. On behalf of the news team, I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Thanks for being there.